Yes, I'll be coming on at 11, guys. What's your gamer tag, Mike? Kinda gonna be an interesting team of the week, guys. We got a lot of new faces. And a lot of the usual suspects who normally show up kinda took a week off. I remember seeing your name on the roster, Macron. Alright guys, welcome to Vpsa Tonight. I am Strictly Gator, your host as always. Couple things I kind of want to cover before we begin the team of the week. There have been a couple of hiccups here and there this season, but I just want to kind of clarify a few things. Courtesy is something that's very important in the VPSA. I believe courtesy stands for a lot, especially if you have lag out issues. People, are late a couple minutes. One of the things I want to say, guys, is we gotta stop trying to take the easy forfeits. I understand you guys want your points, but I'm not going to allow it. So you guys are going to have to work with the other owners to get these games in. Alright, so let's keep it clean, guys. There's no reason to do this because, no offense, later in the season you may need a favor from one of these other owners. So let's just try to, work together, get through this season. I know this season's going to be a fun season, but I'm really looking forward to next season with FIFA 16 around the corner. Talking about that, so you know what the plan is for next season. There have been a lot of talks about what we're going to do for FIFA 16. Are we going to keep the format the same? Are we going to change some things up? Right now, I'm leaning towards changing things up. I haven't made it official yet. I'm going to discuss it with some of the staff that we have. But right now, I'm looking towards maybe two divisions for next season. Kind of like a top division and a relegation division. And those, the way it would work would probably be the top 4 or 5 would stay in that high division. We'd probably put in a couple of new owners just to throw them into that higher division as well. And then the bottom 4 would go into the relegation division. And then with that would be like the other new owners that come in. So I think it's going to be a great thing for the league. I think what we're going to do is we're going to stick to themes as well with the leagues. Next season, I've been thinking about this carefully, and I understand a lot of you guys like the name your own team concept, but in all reality, I kind of want to make it a little more official. So probably with that, we're probably going to go back to the old school kits like VPSA Manchester United. You know, we're going to start naming our clubs like that for next season is the way it's looking. Just because there's been some confusion with some rogue clubs that sound like certain clubs that are in this league. So, you know, that I want to go back to the old school way of things, especially, you know, with separate divisions and kind of going that way. Now, I'm up for suggestions, and, you know, if you guys want to message me or send it to me on Kick, my Kick, by the way, guys, I have no problem giving it out. If you want to throw a suggestion or you want to talk to me, I'm always available. It's VPSA_Gator. You can go ahead and send me there or on Facebook. I'm out there on Facebook, guys. You can send me PMs. But right now, what I'm leaning towards is like maybe a Liga BBVA, and maybe like maybe a Bundesliga or some other bigger league, maybe an EPL, you know, and kind of doing it that way. But we'll kind of figure that out as we go further down the line. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to discuss. You know, a couple things. You know, Team of the Week was kind of tough this week because there are a lot of guys that had good numbers, but they weren't like great numbers. So, you know, it kind of got subjective, and I'm kind of going to go right now what I do so you guys know how Team of the Week is determined. There are certain parameters for certain positions. Like strikers is mostly goals and man of the matches that carry. Cams is more about the assist. Midfielders is more about the assists. CDM and back, it's pretty much clean sheets. And, you know, interceptions for the center backs is what we look for. So those are all things, you know, that we look for in determining the Team of the Week, you know, and trying to decide what, you know, is fair when it comes to it. And we actually had a very interesting situation because when I put in the stats, I have a computer spreadsheet that kind of goes, I take all the stats and I funnel them in by player, you know, and it kind of ranks you guys, you know, with a certain weight on goals, a certain weight on assists, a certain weight on for the center backs, interceptions and match rating, you know, and that's how we kind of figure out who's going to be the starter, who's going to be the bench guy, who just misses. You know, so it's a science, believe it or not, guys. It's not perfect by any means, but what we're trying to do is get it as close to perfect as we can. And I'll kind of go into it. We actually had a little bit of a snag with the computer because on the last spot for Team of the Week on the striker, it had one striker that had 4 goals, but then there was another striker with 2 goals and 4 assists, but that striker had 2 man of the matches. And the computer slightly favored the man of the matches because, of course, he performed in those games and gave that player the nod over the 4-goal guy. But we'll kind of go into that, you know, as we go. But let's begin, you know, let's start with our Team of the Week. Okay, we're going to start off here. You know, I always make the mistake of starting with the center backs, and sometimes I forget the goalkeepers. I'm not going to do that this time, so I'm going to start with the goalkeepers. Now, this was one of those weeks where it was kind of all over the place with goalkeepers. The computers like the clean sheets. That's obvious, okay? So the backup goalkeeper, and you know what was interesting about this, and I found it interesting, is the backup goalkeeper for this Team of the Week was FCP No Life. We know him as Warped Tour. It was interesting with him, honestly, because if you look at his stats, and I'm trying to pull them up now, that's why you kind of hear me stalling a little bit, so I apologize about that, guys. But when you pull up his stats, which I'm trying to do right now, but it's not letting me. Well, here we go. He had 19 saves and a clean sheet. Now, what's interesting about just 19 saves and a clean sheet is the fact that, you know, those numbers don't sound that amazing But then you kind of take a look at some of the other competition, you know, when it comes to the goalkeeper position. And it's kind of tough because the computer looks and kind of goes, okay, how many clean sheets? Well, Apollo had 2, which was the most for any goalkeeper this week. He also had a man of the match. You know, he averaged, let's see here. His match rating was an average 7.6. So, you know what? I can understand Apollo being in there. I can understand No Life. He had a one clean sheet, and he had a 22, which is, I believe, 7.5. Okay, so they both had pretty high match ratings. I kind of gave away the starting goalkeeper. Copy of Apollo from FC Total Football. So, you know, you kind of look at that. Just missing by the computer, and I hate to say it, Khan was just on the outside, because if you kind of compare No Life's numbers to Khan's, you'll see No Life had 19 saves, Khan had 17. No Life had a clean sheet, so did Khan. The match rating kind of threw it in his favor because No Life had 3 games with a 22, which is like a 7-something, versus Khan is showing 4 with a 19. So, you know, very close. You know, honestly, all of them were deserving. But, of course, you have to go by the numbers. And the numbers pretty much say that, you know, No Life kind of edged Khan out for the backup keeper. And Copy of Apollo starts because he had the most clean sheets. So, you know, great job to everyone in the goalkeeping. It was kind of a tough call this week. You know, but, you know, like I say, it's going to come. There'll be other, you know, goalkeepers that'll make it. I know that. So, you know, great job. All right, next, let's go to the outside backs. Now, the outside backs, there, to my opinion, and I'll be honest, there was only 2 that were really deserving this week. The others, you know, there weren't many clean sheets. There weren't many, you know, outstanding numbers where I can go, oh, my God, that outside back deserved, you know, to make Team of the Week. Because when we look at Team of the Week, we look best at the position. And we had 2 that stood out. At the left back, and, you know, there's just 2 starters. There's no bench outside backs this week, so you guys know. We have D. Smith 12001 from Vpsa Dons. He had 2 clean sheets. And his average match rating for this week was a 6.3, which isn't great, but the 2 clean sheets kind of, you know, trump everything else. The right back, another one from FC Total Football, and I'm going to be honest, they have been tough to score on this season. And you know what? I got to give props to FC Total Football's defense. They've done really well this season. So, Stars Ty from FC Total Football, another one with 2 clean sheets. You know, and a decent match rating. His match rating was almost a 7 this week. So, you know, good job, Stars. Like always, you're up there. You know, so I want to congratulate both of them. I'm actually very impressed with the fact that I'm starting to see some VPSA Dons showing up on the Team of the Week, which we'll get to a little later. There's more than one, of course, but okay, center backs. Okay, interesting. You got a little bit of a mix this week. There's 2 bench center backs this week. Killer Squirrels from FP. Like always, I'm going to just say this. Squirrels has got my respect. He's one of the better center backs in the league. You know, he had 1 clean sheet. It was kind of weird this week. There weren't that many clean sheets on defense. But Killer Squirrels, like always, has a high match rating. He was averaging about, let's see, 23. So about a 7. You know, he did really well overall. Just solid. FP has been solid all season on the back line. And then the other center back that made it from FP on the bench was FPI Carlos. Carlos is another one. A clean sheet. You know, just these guys have I'm going to tell you something. Defenders are defined by their clean sheets. I'm also looking at interceptions as a secondary number. That's what the computer looks at. Then, it takes the match rating thirdly into account. And we look at it. So it was close between Sosa on the bench with Squirrels and Carlos. But if you look at the numbers, Squirrels had a higher match rating. Then it was Carlos, then Sosa. The numbers are almost identical. So, congratulations to Carlos and Squirrels for making it on the bench. Your starting center backs. Now, it's kind of hard because, you got to look at, like I said, the clean sheets, and you kind of look at where things end up and how things are. But, it's kind of hard to differentiate unless you have those clean sheets. And I know some people are going to be sore. I know some people are going to be upset that they didn't make Team of the Week. And look, I'm going to be honest. FP, you guys I know are a very good defensive unit. If I could have my way and give everyone on your defense Team of the Week, week after week, I would. But there's only a certain amount of spots. Okay, so our starting center backs, we have Soccer Paulo from Prophecy. He had 2 clean sheets. He averaged a 7 for match rating, and had the similar amount of interceptions than everyone else. So congratulations, Paulo. 2 clean sheets. Great job on the defensive end. And then on the other CB, this was a tough call, but it came down to match rating. Because, there was 2 guys that had 2 clean sheets, but one had a much higher match rating, which pushed them over the top. Geriatric Pickle 3 from FC Total Football was your other starter in the back line. He had 2 clean sheets as well. Average, let's see, close to a 7, it looks like. Yeah, 6.9. So, good job to Pickle. Great job to Total Football as well. I know they have a very good back line, a serviceable back line. It's great to see different people coming on and getting on Team of the Week and doing what they need to do. So, congratulations to the center backs that made it. Okay. Next, CDM. CDM was another one. I'm looking at clean sheets. I'm looking at interceptions. I'm trying to see who stands out at CDM. The computer doesn't lie, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. I can go ahead and, say, wow, you know what? This guy did really well, but honestly, the computer takes everything, throws it into a big giant number, and there we go. Now, with defensive mid, it was kind of interesting. A lot of guys, okay, and I'm saying a lot of guys, had a clean sheet. A lot of guys did a lot of things this week. But, okay, here's the interesting thing. There were 2 CDMs that scored goals this week that had the same amount of clean sheets, and this is what's funny. If the computer takes them, clean sheets are the same. Match rating's about the same. So what does it go to the next default? It goes to goals and assists. It starts looking at interceptions as well. If the interceptions are close, it's going to default to the goals. It's going to default to the assists. And that's where it kind of did here. We have 2 CDMs that are new to Team of the Week. I'm going to start with the bench CDM. It's PTX Fred from Total Football. Or not Total Football, I mean Prophecy. I apologize. Fred, great week. Goal, 10 interceptions, a clean sheet. High freaking match rating too. He had an average of, let's see, 7.07 this week. So great job, Fred. Congratulations on making Team of the Week. The other CDM. Now, this was tough, okay, because you had another one with a slightly lower match rating, but had more interceptions than the guy on the bench, which kind of pushed him over the edge. Had a goal as well. So it kind of looks at that. And the starting CDM this week is Mr. Bonful from Vpsa AC Milan. Had a goal, a clean sheet, 14 interceptions, and a match rating of 6.9. So, great job, Mr. Bonful. I like to see that the different players from different teams are getting in. It shows that there's a little more parity in the league. So, congratulations to Mr. Bonful. Okay. Outside mids. Let's see, where do I want to start here? All right, let's start with the bench. Now, it's kind of interesting because when you look at left mid, right mid, or winger, because that's what you're pretty much looking at, there was a couple that had a goal, a couple that had assists. It's kind of tough because you look at the numbers and you go, okay, do you want to favor match rating and interceptions? But an outside mid's responsibility is to try to go down the line, really get those assists and push the ball up. That's what the computer rewards. And what's funny is it did it again this week. It kind of rewarded those players. So I'm going to start with your backup right mid. Lindsay Mack, 88 for X from AC Milan. Lindsay had an assist, averaged about a 7 for match rating. She just did what she needed to do. It's kind of funny when you look at the numbers and you look at how things shaked out. You'll kind of get a method to the madness of the computer with the next one. Next one was designated Ills on the left mid bench from VPSA Dons. Ills had a goal and an assist and had a really nice match rating this week. He was averaging about a 7.5. So, good job, Ills. It seems like, you're facilitating to your teammates, which is a great thing and what's expected from an outside mid. So, good job to you guys. And overall, guys, I'll be honest, I'm very pleased with how this kind of shook out this week. A little difference, So when I look at it, you got to kind of look at the starting mids and you'll kind of get an idea. Now, one of them is defined as a winger because just the way the formation. And when you look at the stats, the other one's an outside mid. Okay, so let's see here. Starting, I'm going to go with the, let's see. Starting right mid. Starting right mid this week goes to, another player that's new to the league. Lots of respect for that player. I've heard good things from his owner. And honestly, can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me? I'm looking at the chat box. I'm just trying to verify if I'm lagging or if it's... Okay, I don't see anything, so I'm going to assume you guys can hear me. If not, I'll look again. All right. The starting right mid, or actually starting right mid for Team of the Week is King J. from AC Milan. J. had a good week. I know that for a fact. He had 2 assists. Had an average match rating of just over 7. He did a great job overall. Pretty much showed that, the ball has to move to the mid, and that's what the computer takes into account. Assists weigh very heavily on outside mids. And then at the starting left mid, and I'm very proud of this player. Came out of nowhere. Came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden just flourished on the scene last season with 8 goals. Strictly Pogba from Strictly Yoga 2 goals, an assist, match rating about 7.5, plus had a man of the match. All I can say, great job, Pogba. Well earned. You look at the numbers, gets the assist, gets the goals. Well done. Okay. Also, I always continue to forget this, so I'll mention it now so we're ahead of time here. I always forget the manager of the week. When you look at manager of the week, what I'm looking for is who had the best record for manager. That's all that goes into that. And when you look at that, it was FP William 22, FPI William 22 from FP. They score. They score goals in timely times. It's kind of funny. They're silently doing it again. And I'm going to tell you, they have some better competition this time around. I think FC Total Football is a threat, especially with that defense. My thing right now is when you look at everything, and what I'm going to do next week to kind of liven things up, we're going to take the computer projections from the beginning of the season, go back over them. But another thing I want to do is kind of run another projection based on the numbers now and kind of see what the computer thinks going in, because players have been added, players have been removed. I think it'd be kind of fun just to run a little projection after 2 weeks and kind of see what it thinks. But William does a great job with the club. Honestly, that club is one of those clubs that you have a bunch of great players. You have Crespo, a.k.a. Ronaldo Rowe. You have Khan. You have Messi. You have Marvinho. I can go on and on. A bunch of silent leaders on that team. So with that being said, let me get back to the strikers. Okay, with strikers, I'm going to start with the one that was kind of interesting. Okay, the last striker spot. It was kind of funny because I saw the striker stats and I'm thinking, ooh, anyone who got 4 goals is going to get in. But that didn't quite work this time around. When you look at it, it's taking the man of the matches and the assists that were thrown into the pot. And what it did is it liked FP Crespo this week. It gave him 2 goals, 4 assists, but what threw him over was the 2 man of the matches he got. And he had a ridiculously high match rating. We're looking at a 7.6. So, the computer took that and kind of threw it in. So he is on the bench this week at striker. Then our other striker. It's kind of interesting as well. Killa 007 Ghost from Vpsa Dons, 4 goals. Had a man of the match. Really nice match rating right there. Actually, it is, let me see, higher than Crespo's, it looks like. Yeah, it is higher than Crespo's. But what's kind of interesting about it was you also had, and I'm going to give an honorable mention, even though he didn't make team of the week. I want to mention it because honestly, if I could put an extra striker in, I would. Escalade 144 from FC Prophecy had the identical numbers from Ghost. Had the 4 goals and the man of the match, but where it didn't line up with the computer was the match ratings. Killer Ghost had a much higher match rating than Escalade. So, the averages kick in, and, that's kind of where, there had to be a snub, unfortunately. So I'm going to say this. Escalade played his butt off. 4 goals. That's a good week. Okay, now we're going to our starting strikers. It's kind of funny when you look at starting strikers. I really wish that we could see some newcomers come in to striker and kind of take over. But sometimes, they're just players that show up every week and do what they have to do. And that's what Messi 10 does for FP. All I can say about Messi, he shows up. He scores 6 goals this week. He's got 3 assists. He's got 2 man of the matches. You know, shoot, the guy is all over the place. Had a nice little match rating as well. You know, so, you know, I got to give props to Messi. Messi had a great week. You know, honestly, you know, probably one of the better weeks I've seen as a striker, scoring 6. I think Crespo has 6 in 1 week this season as well. So, you know. Then the other striker. You know, I personally don't like giving it to myself. But, you know, when the computer comes up, I had 4 goals and 3 assists this week. Match rating was over 7. You know, honestly, guys, goals carry over assists normally. Remember that as strikers, you have your job is to score, and that's what the computer looks at. It's actually, between you and I and everyone here, the computer weighs 60% towards goals for strikers. So, you know, that kind of shows you the emphasis we have on goals. I just want to also talk about here the breakdown for this week. I thought it was kind of interesting how, you know, it's kind of funny, like, how everything worked when you look at the breakdown this week for Team of the Week. You had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from FP this week. You had 1, 2, 3. You had 4 from Don's this week. Am I right? Is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. And then you had how many from Prophecy? 1, 2, 3 from Prophecy. And then you had 2 from Total Football, 2 from Bordeaux, and 2 from AC Milan. And I'm not going to count Manager of the Week towards FP number because that's, I'm talking positionally. It's a good mix of teams getting in. I'd like to see some of the other teams getting in. I'd like to see some guys from Extinction getting in. I'd like to see some guys from. I saw, I think, 1 from Goals Gone Wild last week. My point is, when you have more of a parity between teams and you kind of look at everything, you're looking to spread out these teams of the weeks. And, to me, I'm going to talk about some of the things I saw, and, it's like I'm saying, dude, Sosa, I know, I love you, dude. I love you. It comes down to the fact that, I got to reward the guys who are putting the numbers behind the thing, behind the league, so all I'm saying is, congratulations to everyone who made Team of the Week. Congratulations to you guys who have stuck it out and done what you want to do. I'm proud to see that everything, some of you guys are progressing on and versus others, so congratulations, guys. Take it easy, and I'm out. Have a great night.